And we're back. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Rollsicle. I'm one of the hosts here at the channel. My name is Nathaniel. I am joined off screen by my lovely co-host, Ashley. Say hi to everyone. Hi. There she is. And we are back finishing up, well, not finishing up, we have one more after this, but starting to finish up the Avatar set review for the cards. We've done multicolor and colorless. She's done white, blue, and black. And now I am here back finally. I know you guys missed me so much. I know her videos are better than mine. But, alas, I'm here no matter. She's giving me the side eye over there. But, look, we have our own specialties, okay? We have our own specialties. I am back, though, giving you guys my draft opinions on, or my limited set review on the remaining red cards and green cards. So, super excited to do both of those videos. We're in the red one today, and let's jump into things. Before we do so, I will quickly say, if you end up enjoying these videos, make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe. Any and all of it is greatly appreciated, so do all that stuff down below. And let's get into things, because the multicolor video I made ended up being like an hour. So we are starting it off here. I realized I'm actually starting off not on the first card. So here we go. Borcupine is our first red card. 2 and a red for a 2/2 Borcupine. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. So, typically speaking, when you have a below stat line creature, in this case 3 mana for a 2/2, that then has the potential to get bigger when other stuff happens, it's a pretty big feel bad. This thing, even if you manage to cast a non-creature spell and make it a 3/3, feels fine, and then maybe it starts feeling better. But in a lot of cases, it's a 3 mana 2/2. I would not be playing this very often. I think this is 2 or a 3 out of 10. Moving on. Boomy Bash. 3 and a red, sorcery. Choose 1. Boomy Bash deals damage equal to the number of lands you control to target creature. That's great, because you're casting this at 4, so we'll take that. Or destroy target land, creature, or non-basic land. That's also useful. So I'm happy with this card. I think this is, I wouldn't call it premium removal, but I would call it removal, and pretty solid at that. So we will say, I consistently look at the recording over here to make sure everything's okay, and then I'm like, but I'm not looking into the camera. But to be fair, the camera's not over there, the camera's here. So I don't know, this is probably in that 4 to 5 range, probably closer to 4. It doesn't scream crazy to me. Combustion Man, 3 and 2 red for a 4/6. That's fine. Human Assassin, legendary creature. Whenever he attacks, destroy target permanent unless its controller has Combustion Man deal damage to them equal to his power. That's very good, because you attack with the 4/6, you either get 4 damage through on top of attacking with it, or you get to destroy target permanent. So that's pretty solid. Very happy with that. Very, very happy with that. I'd call that one, I mean, it's not a bomb, but it's definitely in the, I'd call it like a 6 out of 10. That's a very good uncommon right there. Premium uncommon, Combustion Man. Combustion Technique. 1 and a red, instant lesson. It deals 2 damage plus the number of lesson cards in your graveyard to target creature. If that creature would die this turn, exile it instead. I don't love this. I mean, it's 1 extra mana on top of the regular 2 damage that we see from like a Burst Lightning. And I don't think you're that likely to have lessons in your graveyard. So I'd say this is a pretty bad removal card. This is mainly, I mean, this is like a Lightning Bolt that does 1 less damage, and it's only to target creature. Yeah, this isn't great. I don't think this is great. We're going to call this one like a 3, or, yeah, probably like a 3. All right, Crescent Island Temple. So apparently there's a shrine in every color. I haven't sat through the white, blue, and black cards to tell you what those ones do. But here we have 3 and a red, legendary enchantment shrine. Whenever it enters, for each shrine you control, create a 1/1 red monk creature token with prowess. So obviously if you're in like 5-color shrine deck, this will work, but not very likely for you to get to build that. Whenever another shrine you control enters, create a 1/1 red monk creature token with prowess. Obviously very good if you have a bunch of other shrines, but not very good if it's on its own. I need to give it a rating. Probably like a 3 out of 10. I mean, obviously these are build around cards, so if you're building around shrines, then obviously this is going to be really good, and it's going to do great. But the likelihood that you're going to be building around shrines with the limited amount of shrines that are in this format, but limited. Anyways, I don't think it's very likely to happen, so I'm going to call it a 3 out of 10, maybe even a 2 out of 10, but I'll be generous and give it 3. It probably should get 2. Cunning Maneuver. Hydration is important, people. 1 and a red instant. Target creature gets +3/+1 until end of turn, and you create a clue token. Now, here's my thing. I like combat tricks that leave some sort of actual lasting effect, whether that's a +1/+1 counter, or in this case, a clue token. Sometimes it's a treasure, sometimes it lets you draw a card, whatever it might be that actually has something beyond the combat trick. So I actually really like this one a lot because it creates that clue token that you can then use for water bending, or you can sack it to draw an additional card, maybe get your double card draw depending on what you're in. You can use, didn't even think about this if Ashley was actually listening off to the side, you can use firebending mana to sack clues because you can do it at instant speed. So you can, that's another outlet for the mana that you make. Hadn't even thought about that one yet. So I really like this. I think this is a very good card. I think this is premium for a combat trick, which probably puts it in the like 5 out of 10 category, but that's pretty solid. I'm not even going to lie. So we'll take it. Deserter's Disciple or Deserter's Disciple. I'm not 100% sure which version of the word that one is, but it's fine. 1 and a red, human rebel ally, 2/2. Tap another target creature you control with power 2 or less can't be blocked this turn. That's fine, especially if you want to get something through. I mean, a 2-mana 2/2 is kind of like borderline not acceptable anymore, but it's an okay effect. I'd give it somewhere in the 3 or 4 out of 10 range. Probably leaning more on 3. All right, Fated Firepower. Here we go. We're always seeing the price on these things being insane. But to be fair, part of it is... Oh, wow. These are very different arts that this card has. X and 3 red, enchantment with flash. It enters with X fire counters on it. If a source you control would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent opponent controls, it deals that much damage plus an amount of damage equal to the number of fire counters on this enchantment instead. Okay, so this is basically not playable in limited, because what you're going to do is you're going to waste a ton of mana. This does nothing unless X is at least like 2 or 3, right? And then you end up spending 5 or 6 mana to do pretty much nothing, so that maybe the stuff you do later on... I mean, okay, it is any source you control would do damage, and it can be flashed in almost like combat tricky, so I lied. You can play this in limited. It's just not as powerful as it might have originally first sound. Like, you see it and you're like, oh my god. I don't think it's going to do that much. But it is a little bit better than I thought, because you could swing in with, like, your creatures, and then all of them do 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever it is additional damage than it was expected that they would do, so... I think it's good. I think it's probably in the like 6-ish territory. Yeah, probably between a 6 or a 7 out of 10. Firebending Ascension. 1 and a red enchantment. A lot of enchantments in red so far. When this enchantment enters, you create a 2/2 red soldier creature token with Firebending 1. So it's a 2-mana enchantment that gets you a 2/2 with Firebending 1. That's already good. Whenever a creature you control attacking causes a triggered ability of that creature to trigger, put a quest counter on this enchantment. Then if it has 4 or more quest counters on it, you may copy that ability. You may choose new targets for the copy. So once it gets to 4, you can just start copying your firebending or whatever other attacking triggered you get. I like that a lot. I think this is a really fun card. This is going to build really awesome into constructed decks, but it's going to be really cool to be able to kind of double that. Not to mention, it pays you back. Like, if this was 2 mana and you only got the doubling ability, I would make the argument that this doesn't do a whole lot, but because it gives you the creature, we already basically play a 2-mana 2/2 with Firebending 1. So we take this. This is very good. I would call this a 7, maybe even like 8 out of 10, just because it's a lot of value for 2 mana. Firebending Lesson. 1 red, instant lesson with kicker 4. It deals 2 damage to target creature. If the spell was kicked, it deals 5 damage to that creature instead. So what we're seeing here is a slightly better kicker version of Burst Lightning without the option to go face. And of course, it's a lesson. Burst Lightning was still very premium, even in, even in Foundations, and if it was from anything before that, then I assume in that as well. And I think we'll see the same thing here. This is good removal, and it has the potential to be that later game removal, which also lets you, mind you, this is at instant speed, so you can pour your Firebending into it. Very good stuff. I'd give this somewhere in that range of 5, maybe borderline 6 out of 10, but probably 5. Firebending Student. Speaking of like a 2-mana 2/2 with Firebending 1, this is a 2-mana 1/2 with Prowess and Firebending X, where X is this creature's power. Now this can get very stupid and constructed. A lot of people are talking about this card kind of being that next problematic card in Standard. We'll obviously have to see, but personally, this is very powerful. Like, this is exactly what you want from a 2-drop. You want to play it in one of those Is-It Spellslingery decks, right? And then you just want to absolutely pop off top end. This thing attacks. You cast something that gives it more power. Like, I'm imagining something where, you know, I mean, that enchantment we talked about earlier, right? What if you combat trick onto this, give it prowess, combat trick gives it +3, that's 5 mana, then you attack with it, it's got Firebending X, it's got 5 power already, maybe even more, then you attack with it, now you've got 5 more mana at your disposal, you're able to flash in or cast something pretty high, like, I mean, the ramp you get off of that, I think Firebending is going to be broken in general, but this just seems great. Again, it's not as crazy as what we think of when we hear bomb, but it's a 2-drop. This does so much and is so powerful for a 2-drop that I still have to say this is like probably a 7 or an 8 out of 10. Very, very powerful. All right. Fire Nation attacks. 4 and a red, instant speed, create 2 2/2s with Firebending 1, and it's got flashback, which of course can happen at instant speed. Now, you will need a lot more than just the 2 2/2s attacking with Firebending 1 to be able to produce the 9 mana, but I do like that it even has it to begin with. I think 5 mana make 2 2/2s with Firebending 1 is a little low on the ability, but you do have that potential upside of the late game flashing it back. I'd say it's somewhere in the range of a 4 out of 10. Fire Nation Cadets, this is exactly what we want, right? 1 mana, 1/2, already solid, human soldier. It has Firebending 2 as long as there's a lesson card in your graveyard. Sure. And then something that you can actually use the Firebending on. I mean, a 1 mana 1/2 is already something I'm happy to drop on turn 1 anyways. It just gets a permanent on the board. It's got I mean, honestly, a 1/2 for 1 is already decently solid. Later in the game, as I'm casting lessons, which there's a good bit of, they're usually at instant speed. That's the kind of thing that Firebending wants. This thing can get Firebending 2. I attack, get the 2 mana out of a 1 mana creature. I mean, that's just really solid stuff. I feel like this is a pretty powerful common, especially at the 1 mana cost. I'd give this somewhere in that 5 out of 10 range. Fire Nation Raider. 3 and a red 4/2. Not great. Human soldier with raid. Whenever this creature enters, if you attack this turn, create a clue token. I think if you can get that raid trigger, this is decent. Bumping it up maybe that 4 out of 10 category. But I don't love the body. I do like the enters trigger as long as you have that raid going. But of course, there will be times that this just enters as a 4 mana 4/2, which is definitely a feel bad. All right, Fire Sages. 1 and a red, Firebending 1. So this is a 2 mana 2/2 with Firebending 1. As I mentioned, you already just kind of play this. And then on top of that, it has a 3 mana ability where you can just start buffing it up. Now it's a 3/3, now it's a 4/4. I love this. This is something to pour your Firebending mana into if you have nothing else to pour it into. 2 mana 2/2 is already an acceptable baseline. The Firebending 1 steps it right above that baseline and puts it in that like 4 out of 10 category. Then having something out here, I don't know if having the actual ability on its body bumps it into a 5 out of 10. I don't think so, but it's somewhere in that 4, maybe bordering on 5 out of 10 range. How to start a riot. 2 and a red, instant speed lesson. Target creature gains menace until end of turn. Creatures target player controls gets +2/+0. So this is for your go wide strategies. 1 creature gets menace, great. All creatures get +2/+0. That's the main focus here. Again, we see these pretty often, these cards where your go wide board just gets buffed. They're decent, they're good, they do what they do, they help you kind of turn over those. I mean, if you're playing an aggressive go wide strategy, you have to win quickly. And at turn 5 or 6, where it's going to start shifting towards that control player's field, you need to be able to go over top their creatures, which probably have a higher defense than you, higher toughness than your power, and you need to be able to bridge that gap. That's exactly what this card exists for. It's nothing crazy. It's probably in that 3 out of 10 category, generally speaking, but in the right deck, it's exactly what you need. Maybe 4 out of 10. Iroh's Demonstration. 1 and a red sorcery lesson. Choose 1. It deals 1 damage to each creature your opponents control. Likely that's not going to be great. Or it deals 4 damage to target creature. 2 mana, sorcery speed, deal 4 damage to target creature is very good. And having the other option doesn't hinder that. I think this is very premium. I think this is going to be very sought after. 2 mana, do 4 damage is very powerful. Even at sorcery speed, probably in that 5 out of 10 range. Yong or Jeong? I don't know. The Deserter. 2 and a red, human rebel ally for 2/3. So 3 mana, 2/3 with firebending 1. Fine, but not good. Exhaust 3, put a +1/+1 counter on Yong. When you next cast a lesson spell this turn, copy it, and you may choose new targets for the copy. So if you manage to get that copying ability and the exhaust, okay, pretty good. He's going to help you do it with the firebending. I think this is a good card. I just don't think it's a great card. It probably sits around 4 out of 10. Jet Brainwashing. 1 singular red sorcery, but it does have kicker 3. Target creature can't block this turn. If this spell was kicked, gain control of that creature until end of turn, untap it, and you still create a clue token. So typically I'm not a huge fan of these active treason style effects, but I do like that this one has the create a clue token, and on top of that also has a 1 mana version of it where it's like, well, I just need that creature not to be able to block and then I can swing through and get the lethal. You can do that. So I think the diversity of this card actually bumps it above the normal like 2 or 3 out of 10 that I'd put a normal active treason card, and probably bumps it into that 4 out of 10 range. I really like this card. I'm definitely going to see if I can get some play with it at some point. Okay, so now we're just seeing straight up Lightning Strike. Lightning Strike is premium removal whenever we see it. 1 and a red, 3 damage to any target. Very powerful, can help you get over the edge at the very end, and of course can just be what you need to kill out a creature at instant speed. We love it. We see it. We know what it does. We've seen it in formats before. It's always considered premium removal, and I don't think that'll be anything different here. So, love it. Probably a 5 out of 10, just because it's such a premium removal card. Keeping it up, May, Jaded Edge. 1 and a red, Human Noble for 1/3 with prowess. Exhaust 3, put a double strike counter on May. I'm just going to say May. I really like this, honestly. I think a 2 mana 1/3 with prowess is already something I'm happy to play. And in this color, you're going to have a lot of those instants to be able to cast to help trigger that prowess, or sorceries, or anything non-creature, obviously. And then, of course, the exhaust is great. Now it's just a 1/3 with prowess and double strike. That double strike is very deadly, especially if you're working that prowess, casting those spells. So I think this is pretty powerful. Definitely in that 4 or 5 out of 10 area. Mongoose Lizard, this one's pretty big. Here we go. 4 and 2 red for a 5/6. Acceptable. Menace, better. When this creature enters, deals 1 damage to any target. That's nice. And we're seeing the mountain cycling here. Now, when we typically see these common creatures that are nice big top-ends that also have land cycling on them, they tend to do really well because they're not a dead card in your hand. If you need it early on and you happen to be failing with those land draws, it's very consistent in being able to get you that mountain, because obviously it just works as long as you have the 2 mana. And then, of course, if you happen to draw it later in the game, you're very happy because you have a big, splashy top end to be able to play. These tend to outperform what we think that they'll do, so I'm going to go ahead and put it in that 4 or 5 out of 10 category, even at common, even at a baseline that's probably just baseline for stats. The ability to cycle it out for land is probably very, very useful. All right, Price of Freedom. 1 and a red, sorcery here. Destroy target artifact or land an opponent controls. Its controller may search their library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle, and draw a card. So this is pretty decent. Now, notably, if you destroy target artifact, fine. If you destroy somebody else's land, you're going to want to be able to destroy... You're going to want to be able to destroy something that obviously, like, you would rather them just have a basic. So I don't know if that's really going to come up very often. Destroying target artifact is fine. I don't know if this really gets main decked super often. Now, it replacing itself with the draw card is nice. And of course, I'm more inclined to run this in those like prowessy or like wanting non-creature spell decks. But I don't think this is great. It's probably in that 3 out of 10, maybe 4 out of 10 category because it replaces itself. But I'm leaning more at 3 out of 10. Ren and Shaw, 3 and 2 red, legendary dragon. There's a 4/4 flyer for 5 with firebending 2. That's already good enough. Now, obviously, this is at rare, so I'm not surprised we're seeing a stat line and ability kind of above the norm. When it enters, if you cast them and there are 3 or more dragon and or lesson cards in your graveyard, that's very unlikely to happen. Create a token that's a copy of Ren and Shaw, except it's not legendary. Obviously, completely broken if you manage to pull off the doubling of this card. Very unlikely that you're going to manage to do that, though. Obviously, this has some more ability in Constructed, but I do think this hitting is just a 5-mana 4/4 flyer with Firebending 2. Obviously, the evasion is also helping you trigger the Firebending more often because it's less likely to be stopped and blocked and all sorts of things like that. And then, of course, dragons you control get +2/+0 until end of turn is a nice ability, and of course we see that as an instant speed activated ability that firebending can feed into. So I love this card. I think this is a great card. We're looking at a 7, closing in, yeah, probably about a 7, maybe closing in on an 8 out of 10. Very, very powerful. It's gonna be a tough card to deal with. All right, redirect lightning, single red mana instant lesson. As an additional cost to cast a spell, you either pay 5 life or an additional 2. Very powerful. Change the target of target spell or ability with a single target. That's interesting here, right? So this is effectively like a 1 mana. Am I going crazy? This is a 1 mana, pay 5 life, or a 3 mana deflecting swat, right? That's what we're seeing here. I mean, this is just brutal. If you hold up 1 red and they spend, let's say, like 4 mana on a removal spell, and then you change the target of the removal spell to their creature, they're down the card, they're down the creature, you're not down the creature, and they're down more mana. I mean, that's just insane, right? Like, that's where we see cards like this being. So, as crazy as it's like, well, is that really going to swing the game? Yeah, I think effects like that swing the game and make a game that's impossible to come back or just start the roll of an impossible comeback going. I think this is extremely powerful. This is definitely a 7 or 8 out of 10 if you pull this instant, which you don't normally see on these cheap instants, right? Like, you're not usually talking about that powerful of something that's 1 mana, but I think this is incredible if you can manage to pull off the right play. Maybe it seeps down to like a 7 out of 10 just because you have to be in that scenario, but I think it's great. All right, Rough Rhino Cavalry. This is a 5 mana 5/5 with Firebending 2 and an exhaust ability. Put 2+1/+1 counters on it, and it gains trample until end of turn. And then, obviously, from that point on, it is a 7/7. I think this is great. 5 mana 5/5 with Firebending 2 is already something we're happy to play. And then if you happen to trigger its exhaust ability later on down the line, way to go. I think it's in that 4, bordering on 5, but I think it's still in the 4 category. Solstice Revelations, 2 and a red, instant lesson. Exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost if the spell's mana value is less than the number of mountains you control. If you don't cast that card this way, put it into your hand. I think this is pretty good. If you have a lot of mountains, this could potentially hit something that you're able to cast pretty cheap, but you want to be playing this in effectively something that's pretty mono red, and you're not going to play a ton of mono red decks where you're seeing that many mountains. So likely you have like 4 mountains at best, in which case you probably could have cast the card pretty much anyways. So it's not great. It's probably sitting closer to like a 3 out of 10, which I don't see being super effective. Definitely not the uncommon I'm searching for. Whoa. Okay, sorry, I just read this one in my head. 3 and 2 red sorcery. Each creature you control gains Firebending 5 until end of turn. Whenever it attacks, add 5 red mana, obviously. And you can foretell this with only 3 mana. During your turn, you may pay 2 mana and exile this card from your hand face down. Cast it on a later turn for its foretell cost. So you could cast this later on turn 3, which would be crazy, but you probably wouldn't have the creatures for it. So it just depends. I mean, honestly, this is extremely powerful, but you also have to have something to spend the mana on, right? Because I do see, like, you cast this, each creature is firebending 5, you attack in with 3 creatures producing 15 mana, and then you don't have something super powerful to do with the 15 mana. So you've got to keep that in mind as well. I do think this is a very powerful card. I think we're going to see it have powerful impacts. Do I think it's that impactful in Limited? I don't think so. I think it's probably a 4 out of 10 at best, just because of the many situations where you don't have much to do with the Firebending 5. This isn't an enchantment that gives all of the creatures Firebending 5, right? Like, this is a sorcery that for one turn buys itself back with one creature attacking and gives you positive mana if you have anything more than one creature attacking. But you only get that mana at the instant speed unless you're, like, obviously if you combine this with other cards, you could potentially get great payoffs, but you have to have those other payoffs. So probably like a 4 out of 10 or something for me. The Cave of Two Lovers. 3 and a red, Enchantment Saga. This is cute. Create 2/1/1 white ally creature tokens. So we start out with our 2 lovers. We create the 2/1/1s. Then you search your library for a mountain or cave card. Sure. Put it into your hand. So 4 mana, get 2/1/1s. Then go get a land. Then Earthbend 3. I like it. At the end, you're getting a total of 5 power and toughness worth of creatures, and you're effectively drawing a card with that search your library. It does a lot. I think this is a powerful saga. I think this is pretty solid. 4 or 5 out of 10. Where do I think the strength of this is landing? I think this is probably closer to a 5 out of 10. The Last Agni Kai. Instant, 1 and a red. Target creature you control fights target creature an opponent controls. If the creature that opponent controls is dealt excess damage this way, add that much red. Until end of turn, you don't lose unspent red mana as steps and phases. And now see, this is very powerful. If you couple this with Sozin's Comet or something like that, and then now you can move into a main phase with like 12 red mana, then obviously, yes, this is insanely powerful. I think this is a very good card, but you're also looking at a situation where you're going, great, if I have this rare and this mythic, I do powerful things. That's kind of how rares and mythics work anyways. On its own, I do think this is good removal, but remember, you're having a creature fight another creature at 2 mana. I do think that's a good payoff, and you do get mana back if you have if you have like an 8/8 fight, like a 3/3, you can spend 2 mana, get 5 mana back from this. Obviously, that's huge. So I think this is a very, very premium removal card. Probably is a removal card that breaks into the 6 or 7 out of 10 category. The Legend of Roku. Enchantment Saga, 2 and 2 red. This one's also mythic. Exile the top 3 cards of your library until the end of your next turn. You may play those cards. That's always nice. That next turn, you are going to get 1 mana of any color as well to help you cast that. And then it turns into a 4/4 with Firebending 4 that can make dragons. This is a bomb. This is an absolute bomb. So this thing enters and is 4 mana, impulse, draw 3. Okay, fine. Then the next turn, you're still on the impulse draw for those 3 cards, so you can start casting them. You get a little bit of mana to do that. And then assuming this survives into turn 3, it just turns into the biggest bomb of a creature. 4/4 with Firebending 4. Now, of course, you're probably... Oh, I didn't even see that the 4/4 red dragons also have Firebending 4. Yeah, because it needed that, right? Because it needed that. Jesus Christ. Yeah, this is a bomb. This is a 9, bordering on 10 out of 10. The only reason it's not a 10 out of 10, I'm going to give it a 9. I'm going to land it a 9, is because it has to get to 3 before it's even that creature. That's the one reason I'm sitting on 9 out of 10. But a bomb. Absolute bomb. If you see this, that is a reason to play red. The Tigerdillo. 1 and a red. Cat Armadillo. 4/3. What? Oh. This creature can't attack or block unless you control another creature with power 4 or greater. Okay. That's an interesting situation. So obviously, if you have no other creatures, this thing isn't doing a whole lot. And we have seen in red a lot of creatures that wouldn't trigger for this creature to be able to attack or block. And it's not that far above the stat line that I do think this is relatively weak. Probably sitting at around a 3 out of 10 because it doesn't do a whole lot. If it couldn't attack, that's one thing. But the fact that it can't block either just makes this a pretty dead card a lot of the time. All right, here we go. Treetop Freedom Fighters, 2 in a red. Creature human rebel ally with haste. So a 3 mana 2/1 with haste. But when it enters, you get a 1/1. So it's a 3 mana 2/1 that then gives you a 1/1. That's fine. It has haste, but I feel like this should have been like a 3/2 that makes a 1/1, and we would have seen a very powerful card. But because it's a 2/1 with haste that makes a 1/1, I still feel a little weak on what we're making. I do like that it's 2 ally triggers, and in white-green you want allies, but in white-red you're just kind of going wide. Allies are great, but you don't need to be allies. That's fine, but I don't think it makes up for the card. It's probably still about a 3 out of 10. Okay, next we have Twin Blades, 2 in a red artifact equipment, flash at uncommon. When it enters, you attach it to target creature you control. That creature gains double strike only until end of turn, and then equipped creature gets +1/+1. So this acts as a instant speed, +1/+1, and double strike combat trick that then sticks around as an artifact that's giving +1/+1. I do like that a lot. The creature is likely to survive because of the double strike, and if it was a creature that was already getting through, this could turn something like 3 damage into 8, which really could be the difference of a game, might even be enough to end the game on the spot if people aren't ready or aware thinking about this, right? They might comfortably let a 4/4 through at 10 health, and then suddenly they're taking 10 damage. Tylee, Artful Acrobat. Legendary creature, human performer with prowess. This is a 3 mana 3/2 with prowess. Already pretty good there. Whenever Tylee attacks, you may pay 1 when you do target creature can't block this turn. I mean, it didn't have to have that, and it was already an acceptable card because the 3 mana 3/2 with prowess is likely going to be like a 4/3 pretty often, just depending on how often you can cast. So that was already like acceptable. That kind of bumps up from a 3 to maybe a 4, and then it solidifies itself in a 4 by being able to pay mana and not be blocked, or at least not have certain creatures block it. So at least a 4 out of 10, could be higher maybe. Then we have War Balloon, 2 in a red artifact vehicle. So this is a flying 4/3. Pay 1, put a fire counter on this vehicle. As long as the vehicle has 3 or more fire counters on it, it's an artifact creature, or you can use crew 3 to turn it into a 4/3 flyer. So you can crew 3 it, love that, or over time you can spend 3 mana, and now it's actually a creature, so it's effectively spend a total of 6 mana. But mind you, that's an activated ability, so you could use your firebending fire counters. Very flavorful. I like that a lot. So over time you could firebend. So you could bring this out, move to combat, attack with firebending 3 worth of firebenders, and then immediately create this as a 4/3 flyer. I feel like that's pretty strong and pretty powerful. So I'm going to say that this is like a 4, maybe 5 out of 10. Wartime Protesters, 3 in a red, human rebel ally. With haste, a 4 mana 4/4 with haste is already acceptable. Whenever another ally you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on that creature, and it gains haste until end of turn. So this just has a lot of upside for your other allies, and it itself is a 4 mana 4/4 with haste. Is this a rare bomb? I should say this is at rare. Is it a rare bomb? No. Is it a rare good card? Yes. This is at least a 5 or a 6 out of 10. And again, we take that over our regular commons and uncommons. Yugian Archers, 1 in a red, 3/1, perfectly fine with reach. This thing's going to be able to kill whatever it blocks, or it's going to be able to attack with good damage. When this creature enters, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card, so you can rummage with it. Never hurts. That's always an upside to see. We don't see a lot of like discard synergy so far, but there is some synergy with cards in the graveyard, so that could benefit us here. I mean, it's okay. 2 mana, 3/1 with reach that then can rummage is fine. Probably bumps it into the 4 out of 10 category, but that's not crazy. Okay, Zhao the Moonslayer, 1 and a red, human soldier, 2/2 with menace. Non-basic lands enter tapped. That's just all non-basic lands enter tapped. Now, he does have a 7 mana activated ability, put a Conqueror counter on him. As long as he has a Conqueror counter on him, non-basic lands are mountains. So that is a win you the game clause, right? Because unless your opponent is in red, now non-basic lands. So this does pretty much nothing in limited. Yeah, this does nothing in limited. There's just a 2-mana 2/2 with Menace in limited. That's not good. Yeah, that's not good. Okay, so this effectively 2-mana 2/2 with Menace is fine. You're not gonna. I mean, you might get something out of this, and then maybe you get something out. But you're only doing that if you literally have absolutely nothing else. Like you have nothing in hand. You're gonna waste the mana. You might as well do it. Yeah, but okay, sure. So this is like a 3 or a 4 out of 10 at best in limited. So definitely not what you want to see as your rare. Definitely not what you want to see as your rare. Now maybe obviously it's gonna go kind of crazy in like Commander, but not what you want to see as your rare. Last but not least, we have Zuko, Exiled Prince, 3 in a red, Human Noble for 4/3. Yeah, but Firebending 3 is really nice, and that can pay for his own activated ability. Exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. Pretty nice. You could always move into combat, attack with him, get the exile card off the top of your library, and then, you know, even if you lose him at that point, at least he got you the potential another card that you can play. Not going to hate on this. I do like, 4 mana for a 4/3 is not great, but 4 mana for a 4/3 that then produces you 3 mana should it stick and be able to attack, and has something to do with that 3 mana that draws you a card effectively. It's impulse draw, but still, I think it's pretty solid. That's at least a 4 out of 10. And that's the red cards. It's not, there are a few. There was the one saga that I was like, okay, that is a bomb, obviously. But the rest of them, pretty solid cards. I'm excited for this color. I do think it's going to do powerful things, but I don't think it was super broken. There were a few cards in there that I was like, hey, it's pretty great. And a lot of cards that landed in that 4 to 6-ish category, really 4 and 5, that were impressive. And I'm excited for it. So those are all the red cards. We appreciate you guys for sticking through the video. If you made it all the way to this point, let us know down in the comments below. What did we get right? What did we get wrong? If you're watching this after pre-release, after these cards came out, tell us what was great, what wasn't. If you're watching this beforehand, we'd love to know your opinions on the matter. These are our opinions, but that doesn't mean that they're right. Thank you guys so much for all your love and support and continuing to comment in the comment section below. The channel's been growing pretty fast, and we owe all of that to you guys and how awesome you are. So if you want to hang out with us, you want to join the channel, we would love and appreciate it. Once again, thank you guys for sticking with us. We'll see you guys in whatever comes next. But until then, may those rolls be ever in your favor. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace out. Bye, y'all.